Hello there and welcome back to the SalonTouch video channel. Today we're going to talk about waitlists. SalonTouch gives you the ability to put a client in a waitlist for a particular room if the room is unavailable. And there are two options there. One is to add somebody to a waitlist without a pre-sale, and the other one is to add somebody to a waitlist with a pre-sale. So let's take a look at those two settings and see how the waitlists work. But first, there are some settings that we need to take care of. So I'm going to go to Setup, Options, and in the 10 settings, I will scroll down a little bit. And right here, there are a few settings that we need to check mark. And these are really preferences on how you operate the salon. In my case, I've decided to check mark all of these, display the waitlist option when bed is in a ready mode. So this will give me the options about sell and pre-sell. It'll ask me if I want to put in a 10 time when putting a client in the waiting list. The other ones are how I want the wait list to be displayed, by time in, by bed, and I checked marked by time in. And then the other one is when checking a client from a waiting list, if a 10 time has been entered, then we use that 10 time. And I said yes. And warning, if a client there's somebody already waiting and I put somebody in bed for that room, it'll warn me. So those are the 4 settings that I checked mark for myself. You may have some different preferences. Once I've done that, I save. So let's look at the first scenario where we put a client in a waitlist without a pre-sale. So I pulled up a client, Joe Saladna, and he wants to use tanning bed number 4. However, that bed is occupied. So to put him in a waitlist, I click on this bed and up it brings up a list. So there's 2 options, put in waitlist and put in a waitlist with pre-sale. So putting somebody in a waitlist only means that in this scenario, we simply select the client and move them to a waitlist without performing any transactions such as collecting surcharges if they're applicable. And at that time, no unit or session deductions take place. We are simply moving the client to the waitlist. So that's what we're going to do. So I click on Put in Waitlist. I use the default 10 time. And there we go. And if I click on the bottom here, it tells me Joe Saladna is in a wait list for room number 4, and he clocked in at 12:19. Now once the other client has finished tanning in room number 4, I would click on it, I would clean the room, clean it up, and now that room is ready. Now I can go ahead and put Joe in that room. So all I have to do is pick Joe up, click on here. It tells me the client is Joe Saladna. Now pick the session. And there we go. And Joe is now tanning. Now let's look at a scenario where there are surcharges involved. So I pulled up a client, Jenny Saladna, and she wants to use room 13. So I'm going to put her in room 13. And it says put in the wait list. So I can put her in the wait list 20 minutes and I click OK. Now notice that she is in the wait list. Notice that although there is a surcharge involved for her to use room 13, but because we put her in a wait list without a pre-sale, nothing was collected so far. Now room 13 is available. I'll clean up the room and I will just say cleaned. Yes, I've cleaned up the room. Now I can put Jenny in that room. So I'm going to put her in that room. And I'm going to select this package here. Now notice that it is at this time going to ask me to charge the client the upgrade or the surcharge fee. So I just tender it cash. Balance due $5.49 for the surcharge. And it will then put Jenny in the tanning bed. So to summarize, if we put somebody in a wait list with no pre-sales, then they just moved into the queue. no sales transaction takes place, no sessions are deducted, no units are deducted, no surcharges are collected upfront. They are only collected when I actually put the client in the bed. Now let's look at a second situation where we put a client in the wait list with a pre-sale. What this means is in this scenario, we'll be able to collect surcharges if applicable, and all units and sessions are deducted before the client is put in the wait list. This will speed up the turning process. So let's look at it. I pulled up a client's profile, Joe Saladin. I know that for him to use room 14 here, there's a surcharge involved. So I am going to put him in a wait list. I click on this room and I say put in a wait list with pre-sales. And I'm going to pick the package up and I'm going to say OK. Now it's going to take me to the register where he pays a surcharge first. So I tender that. And now he is in the wait list and all the necessary surcharges have been collected. As we can see here, $549 was paid, and the number of sessions has been reduced by 1, so there's only 6 left now instead of 7. Now when room 14 becomes available, I can put Joe in that bed immediately. And there we go. There was no waiting period. All the money was collected up front. All the sessions were deducted up front. So those are the two scenarios for the wait list, one with pre-sales and one without pre-sales. I hope this was useful to you on how wait lists work in SalonTouch. I think they are a very useful feature. So please use them, and I hope to see you again soon in my next video. Bye.